Good afternoon. I'm Brian Shelburne, Department of Mathematics and Computer Science, if you didn't know that. We want to welcome our speaker today, John Herms, from the Advanced Technical Intelligence Center. As you probably are aware, that we have partnered with them to provide us with a cybersecurity track in our computer science majors. So those of you who don't know or don't know, we actually have two kind of majors. We have sort of what I call the middle-affiliated standard major in computer science, but we also have a computer science major where with a cybersecurity track. And the way that it works is that we spend a semester out at the ATIC facility out in Next Edge, which is out here in Route 40. You spend the whole semester there, basically under the tutelage of John here, who's going to teach you.
And a few other people, it won't just be me.
So we're really glad to have John visit us for a couple reasons. One is so you can sort of get acquainted with him, because if you're interested in this program, you can sort of see how it's run. He's going to talk about cybersecurity. I think cybersecurity is one of the hottest topics in computer science. If you've been paying attention to the news, it's getting bad out there. So we need more and more people to work in cybersecurity to protect the internet, protect our identities and stuff like that. So I'm going to stop here, and John, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome. I work for Wright State Research Institute, which is a department of Wright State University, and it's involved in research. It's involved with bringing in Wright State University's commercialization aspects, and also it's the management arm for the ATIC, which used to be something a little different, which I'll get in with just a second. Let me start out by asking, who in here is like super computer geeky? Okay. Who is super finance? Accounting? No accounting? I wanted some FBI guys. Let's see. Sciences, biology. Okay. Liberal arts. No. Everybody. Trick question. Sorry about that. I am a computer scientist. I went to Wright State University before any of you were born. Well, most of you. And I got to see the internet when it was born. I got to see, you know those things where you type in www.google.com and it takes you someplace? It used to be we didn't do that. We actually typed in the little numbers. We would type 27.48.87.26. And it would go to a particular protocol, usually not the web that early, because the web didn't exist. But what I got to see as the internet and the protocols were developed, okay, as I went through my computer science days at Wright State, was how impressive the folks out there who design applications, your email, okay, something called Gopher, which was the precursor to the web. Things where you could go out and search for things. It was really amazing to watch these folks get things to work that never worked before. And the government, of course, funded this. This was called the ARPA project and DARPA today. And they would progress through various stages and add computer to computer to computer in city and city and city. I remember when the list for the computers on the entire worldwide internet was 1,000 lines. And every night we would download it, and the internet started to grow. And the file would get bigger and bigger and bigger. And pretty soon, it took so long to download that file that we started to get behind. We would be a week behind. It became intractable. So that's when the DNS system, which takes things like www.google.com and maps it to those little numbers, that's when that was designed, and that's when that was implemented. And I was actually part of the team that implemented that at Wright State University, as well as some boring stuff which had to do with writing master's thesis for other kids. But that was the more fun stuff. ATIC, Advanced Technical Intelligence Center for Human Capital Development. That's a big long name. But we just call it ATIC for short in this area. It's about 10 years old, and it used to be a Riverside Research. Anybody ever hear of Riverside Research? It's over in Beaver Creek. It's a nonprofit, just like ATIC is. It's in a little building right next door to ATIC, actually. And Riverside Research basically generated ATIC, hosted ATIC for a few years. Then we went into an independent status until 2014, okay? ATIC at that point was both research and it was training. And it trained in analysis for defense and intelligence. That's FBI, NSA, CIA, all those funny guys, okay? That was the analysis boot camp. Then we also had other things like NASIC, which was the National Aerospace Intelligence Center at Wright-Patterson, where they can zoom down onto your backyard and read your newspaper. Those guys. So we had classes for those folks. The reason we were doing that is because the government said there's not enough people to do the work. So ATIC was born from that need. We're now under the Wright State University Center for Workforce Development. Okay, that is a group of 4 little organizations which are tasked with making people successful in the Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus area. That's through training, that's through placement, that's through helping you with your resumes, anything we can do. And we have dropped the research part. We don't do any of the research stuff anymore. We just do training. We have the Wright State Research Institute, which manages the ATIC. They do all the research now. And there's some really smart guys there. And sometimes they tell me what to do. And sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. And they're brilliant. I someday want to learn how to understand what they're making me do. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. Why do we have to provide the training? Well, again, mentioned the intelligence and government workforce. How do you think I can find somebody to work for the FBI? Can I graduate from high school and go work for the FBI? What do you think? No? All right. Can I go take an FBI course in a college? Can I do that? No? What's the #1 way to get into the FBI? What's that? Well, I'm sorry. Actually, an accounting degree. Best way to get in the FBI. Why? What is criminal behavior? Why do I want to be a criminal? To get rich, right? Nobody's going to go out and say, I'm going to be a criminal that will walk little old ladies across the road. No, it doesn't exist. So the FBI hires accountants in order to follow money, in order to crack rings and solve crimes. Okay? So if you want to ever be in the FBI, an accounting degree is awesome. Military is great. Military is a great way to get involved in various fields and defense intelligence agencies. And the #1 thing you get out of the military is a clearance. You've heard of these things on TV when you watch NCIS, top secret. Hey, I've got a top secret, read me in, Gibbs. That is something the government gives to a lot of people when they join up. However, people like me, okay, right out of college, am I going to get a top secret clearance just by asking the government? Nope. I got to work for someone who works for the government or work for the government itself. All right? So we have a catch-22. I want a clearance. A lot of the jobs around the Dayton area with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base require a clearance. Here I am out of Wittenberg. I don't have a clearance. What can I do? Well, I can join the military. I can get my accounting degree, apply for the FBI, or I can address this broken social contract. It used to be that when I would go work for a contractor, they would sponsor me for security clearance, whether it's secret, top secret, whatever, and I would help with very mundane things for up to a year while the security clearance was processed, okay? The security clearance takes that long, unfortunately, and that involves time and money. The contractors don't want to do that anymore. So they're unwilling to pay for it. They're unwilling to pay for you. So you sitting around for a year is not going to work. So what we do is we feed the intelligence government, and then the emergent cybersecurity analyst programs, and we provide the clearance. So we sponsor for up to top secret right out of our class. Then we hold them for all of our students for up to 2 years. What does this do? Gives you a chance to graduate, because we only accept juniors and seniors, right? And then when you are ready to get your job, the clearance transfers seamlessly and instantaneously over to your new employer. No waiting, no cost. The contractors love this. So does the government. Okay? The program that I administer and teach part of is the Cyber Analysis Data Security, or CADS program. And what we do is we teach the analytic skills as they relate to cybersecurity. Okay? What that means is that we teach you how to research, we teach you how to go out and keep up with the latest information, and we also teach you some of the skills necessary to secure and defend Windows or Linux or other operating system or a network. Okay, so this program does a couple of things for you. We learn about foundation of information security. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't know about, okay, we hear about cybersecurity today, don't we? Okay, that's actually the second thing. The first thing was information security, which was much more simple, okay, firewalls and filters and things like that. Then there's cybersecurity, which looks at a bigger aspect, okay, various things working together and how to secure them. And then beyond cybersecurity, which we do not touch in this course, but is something that is in my bailiwick, is cyber resilience, where if you get hacked, okay, all right, is that a bad thing if things keep running? You would think you're angry about it, okay? You're angry somebody got in. But if things are still running, the boss is still happy, the company's still making money, all right? Now, in absence of people stealing your stuff, like the Chinese exfiltration experts and stuff like that, okay, you'll actually be pretty happy, okay? So what cyber resilience does is it tries to maintain things in a running state and also switch attackers over to a non-threatened area without them knowing it, like a honey net or honey pot, okay? So they break in, the system will detect they broke in and invisibly switch them over to a bunch of fake data, okay? That's cyber resilience. That's on the third tier, which we don't cover here, but I just wanted to let you know that's a thing. We talk about cybersecurity concepts and terminology. We'll brush up on a few of those a little later. We understand an attack surface and attackers. An attack vector is a line in your mind, and it is a way to attack something. If you take a bunch of lines and put them in a row, what do you get? You get an area, two-dimensional, and that's what we call an attack surface. So we have this abstract idea of an attack surface that we try and minimize in order to make our system more secure. Okay? You can do that. You can actually look at something, measure in different ways how vulnerable it is, and try and squish that down. Okay? We introduce offensive techniques and tools. This is the fun part. Probably around week 3, we get to hack each other. There are some people who love to browse Amazon, who love to browse eBay, whatever, in class. I don't, assume that everybody's paying attention all the time. That's okay. But I give permission to the class. If you see one of your classmates goofing off, hack them. And you know what? They don't goof off much anymore. We review the Internet protocol layers and concepts. Those are things that make up the Internet that you can't see. All the little bits and stuff going over the wires. Those are actually like grouped into like structures and things that you can understand. And speaking of those structures, we understand them. We can take them apart. We can point out how they're going to go in order from this place to this place, from Google to your laptop or to your phone. This is a computer, isn't it? This smartphone and every one that you have is more powerful than most of the computers that we had even 10 years ago. It's just amazing. Just amazing. All right. Our training objectives continue with a philosophy. This is called network security monitoring. Okay, now you have heard probably of these things advertised by Cisco. Buy our new firewall, or buy this, or buy that. And maybe you've heard in the news how those firewalls and things had like crazy backdoors in them, and oops, nobody changed the password. Stuff right out of the box that nobody knew these things were vulnerable. Well, network security monitoring doesn't depend on a silver bullet. Network security monitoring depends on an analyst being able to understand enough about his network that he's able to see what is normal and detect what is not. Then, once I know what is normal, and we teach how to use various tools like Python scripting language in order to create custom threat detection engines. And we actually can catch things as they come by and say, hey, here's a guy trying to get in from Russia. Ah, denied. Okay, so that's kind of fun. Machine architecture and memory. Anybody ever wonder what a CPU does or how it's laid out? We talk about that here. Anybody ever hear of assembly language? Raise your hand. Oh, wow, locked. Wow. Okay, assembly language is something that we learn in Intel architecture, but it's really popular, so it's not a waste of time. And then we learn a little bit about memory and how we can think of memory. You know, a big, long string of space and things we can put in it. Well, on top of those ideas, we can then discuss operating system APIs, which are application programming interface, okay? An API is something that Windows or Linux provides you as a programmer in order to not have to do everything yourself, because it's really boring to do stuff yourself. It's much easier to call a function that Windows or Linux would provide you and say, you, go do that. And it does. It's magic. The data structures are things that we put into the memory. Okay, so we'll have things that are shaped like big squares and other things that are shaped like big long stringy beans and other things, well, no circles, but you get the idea. It's all kinds of interesting ways to arrange data. We have some real scattered stuff so that we can go find data really, really quick by calculating hashes and other functions. Finally, we do some malware analysis. Okay, this is kind of fun because we actually take real malware, stuff that's out there today, and we download it into a secure area in our cyber range, and we actually take it apart and find out how does it work. When I run this, how is it killing my little virtual machine that I set up just to get messed up with, you know? And then you get to see, okay, it did all this, 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 and this, and then you can reset it and try it again with different malware or the same malware. And you can try different things to stop it and say, well, I know it's writing this little file here and then burrowing in over there. Maybe if I kill it right there. Okay, cool. Finally, we have an optional memory forensics, which is really kind of fun. But not many people are interested in it, so you know, it's only the people who are really, really interested that do this at the very end. And essentially what they do is they, remember how I told you you had all these data structures in memory? Okay? Well, that's the case for the operating system too. And the operating system has all these structures in it, like, you know, all the programs that are running, there's a list of them in there. It's kind of in a circle too, because the operating system goes, I'm going to run you, then you, then you, then you, then you. And then a guy with a rootkit, a bad guy from China, will come in and put something else into that circle. But he'll say, I'll make sure that you don't see it, so he's invisible. Well, with memory forensics, you can actually see the circle, and so the fact it's not listed on the little Windows Process Explorer pane doesn't matter, because you actually see it there in the memory. Kind of fun. All right, let's talk a little bit about information security, okay? Fundamentally, it's some layers, like an onion or cake. First of all, there's products, okay? Products are like the firewalls and the antivirus programs and the security appliances that promise to do everything. You know, the marketer's stuff. They contain and move data, pretty much. Then there's people. That's the analysts. That's the people who are going to be using the products. And finally, is the processes. They guide the people in what to do with the products. Now, which one's the most important out of that? What do the marketers say is most important? Products are probably most important to the marketers, aren't they? Because without it, they don't make any money. But guess what? At scale, processes and people matter more. Why is that? Because if I'm a bad guy, okay, and I'm a bad guy with tools, and I want to attack you, okay, it might take me a long, long time. It might take me a year. So I'm going to have to keep a little 3-ring notebook over here and keep track of all the things I'm doing to you so that I can always come back to where I was, take up my space where I was, and keep going, okay? That's a process, all right? So you can see that when you are addressing an attacker who's using tools and a process, the only way to do that is you have to use tools and a process. You have to meet fire with fire. So let's talk about security versus usability. Well, what's your favorite app on your smartphone right now? Snapchat? How about WhatsApp? No WhatsApp?
Is that the international one? Where people overseas, or you can still text?
Well, the thing about WhatsApp is really cool is they're the first ones that have gone end-to-end secure, so that even the WhatsApp servers can't decrypt your stuff. So in terms of apps, WhatsApp's probably the most secure right now. And why were the Snapchat photos stolen? How were people able to do that? They said that they were encrypted and they would go poof automatically. What happened? Turns out a bunch of hackers made these extra apps that would look at the Snapchat app and save that junk and then steal it. And then people would download those extra apps because they had cool names and they were advertised properly and all that kind of stuff. So Snapchat didn't maintain the security that we wanted or that they marketed because they left stuff unencrypted on your phone that another app could get to. Okay? But WhatsApp, which is brand new, as far as its end-to-end security, it's actually much more powerful. So just so you know. But then, if I use WhatsApp and I don't have a way to decrypt it, and the FBI sends me a notice and says, give me Trish's stuff, give it all to me. And I'm like going, I don't know. I encrypted it. I threw away the key. I don't have it. Okay? The FBI will be mad at me, but that's okay. The idea that they are mad at me is not usability. Okay? So we have this line where we have usability on one side, which is the FBI really, really wants your stuff. And on the other side is security, where the FBI ain't going to get your stuff. Okay? So you get to choose where to balance convenience and safety with all cybersecurity aspects. The FBI wants you all to choose on the left, okay? Whereas Apple is trying to move you over to the right. Okay, attackers. Let's talk about a few of them. We got the black hats. We call them hackers. Why? Because the media does. Originally, hackers were makers, people who did fun stuff, but we're not evil. Okay? We called them crackers back in the day, but the media didn't like saying crackers because it sounded like a saltine. So they went ahead and chose to call them hackers instead, lump them all together. Black hats are the really bad guys. They're really, really good. And anybody seen Chris Hemsworth in Black Hat, the movie? Okay, I am seriously disturbed. I wanted to see all the women's hands go up. And they didn't, so Thor doesn't do it before you, I guess. Okay, this movie is very, very good. Black Hat is entertaining, and it also has a fairly realistic way of presenting cybersecurity processes and stuff. It's a little bit compressed on the time scale, but other than that, it's very cool. If you watch that movie and you say, I want to be like Chris Hemsworth, you might actually like cybersecurity. If you want to marry Chris Hemsworth, sorry, can't do that. Script kiddies, beginners. Anybody can be a script kiddie. You can go to the websites, Google it, download tools, attack your little brother. It's all fun. It's all done and packaged and made very simple for you. They're annoying, but they're out there. Spies. Government spies, we know they exist, don't we? Some get good paychecks, NSA for instance. FBI, and we have corporate spies as well. Those are the folks who will work for one place and either steal data there, or the Chinese will break in and steal data from American companies and bring it back. You ever wonder why we don't make VCRs anymore here in America? 20 years ago, somebody did that. Insiders, we call them the most dangerous. Why is that? Probably because they know where everything is, right? You've heard that, I know where all the bodies are buried. Well, that's what the insiders do. Criminals, they're a little different from the black hats. The criminals are all about the money. Black hats want fame also. But the criminals, they're mostly fishing for bank scams and things like that. Trying to spearfish, which is a way of sending you an email that says, hey, I'm your bank, you need to do this, check on your balance, here's the place to log in, and you do, and they have your credentials. Terrorists, we've seen those guys blow up stuff and then put it on websites and take over websites, so that's a political motivation. Not very nice, but you can see that terrorists have different motivations than money, so we kind of split them out. How do we train in our little program? Well, we have a practical hands-on approach. Everybody gets a Chromebook. We attach back to Cyber Range with lots of virtual machines. That means Windows and Linux for now. And we get to learn different tools, how to hack them, how to communicate between them, and how to protect them. We learn how to apply analytic skills. Those are the ways to research, find out how something works, how to protect it, understand what the needs are, how to balance the usability and the security for everything. It's all important. We become familiar with popular tools, okay? If you watch Black Hat, you'll see some of the little tools on the screen that we use. We also use defensive tools that are very, very popular. They're also kind of expensive, which is kind of neat because we get them for free, because we're a school. Finally, understand the TCP/IP protocol suite. That is the network protocols and bits and bytes underlying everything you do on the network. Okay? We learned that left, right, and sideways. So you can actually open it up in a window, in a panel, and say, hey, so that's where those numbers are going to. That looks weird. I wonder what that is. You can just dissect it. Finally, we analyze the malware. We look at ways that malware can target an operating system, how it can be spread, and then we analyze how it unpacks itself, what parts of the operating system it burrows into. How many of you had to reload your whole computer because you got infected? How many of you just went out and bought a new computer? Okay, how many of you just have smartphones? Smartphones are actually pretty cool because we have this really thing called factory reset. Yeah. Factory reset is a lot faster than reloading Windows, so it's actually pretty nice. As part of the class, we will practice using command line, which is the little black window that you see on NCIS. You ever notice that McGee and Abby like type on the keyboard at the same time? Does that ever bother anybody? Bothers me. I can't do that. We dissect packet streams, like I mentioned, using a tool called Wireshark and a few others. And those actually show you how these conversations are broken into packets and then further into numbers that mean things. We trace the malware effects in a sandbox, and a sandbox is just a virtual area where it can't escape. That's all it means. So that we can play with highly dangerous junk and not infect the city of Springfield. Finally, we do a 2-week research period at the end of 10 weeks in which we collect information for a malware capstone, where we present to an audience. Each group of students will select a malware and show how it works, how it infects the system, and how to prevent against it. So, kind of cool. Finally, we partner with security companies. We got Cleveland, Cincinnati, here in Dayton, security operations centers, and operations centers, and data centers. And those give you real-life exposure to cybersecurity and protecting stuff. Okay, boring part over. Now the fun stuff. What do you want to talk about? Yes? I thought you raised his hand. Yeah, go ahead.
I know very little about the program, the partnership you're just developing, but do I understand right that students would go to ATIC essentially all day, every day for the whole semester and get academic credit for it?
That's correct.
Which applies to our computer science major. But what would somebody be doing all day long? Are they actually taking classes with some of your colleagues?
We have an active learning environment where we have a portion of the day is spent with lecture, a portion of the day is spent with a reading period, a portion of the day with research. It's all matched in depending on the part of the class where we are. For instance, learning about binary and hexadecimal happens on the first day. So you would literally expect 2 hours of lecture related to binary and hexadecimal numbers on the first day. What we try and do is make sure that people who understand the concepts for that day have other stuff to do. Okay, we don't want to bore anybody, but we also try and keep things so that anybody who is not up to speed can be brought up as quickly as possible. But you're right, the entire day is 8:30 to 4:30 at the ATIC facility, and you spend it Monday through Friday, except for holidays, of course. And you do get full credit on transcript. You get the certificate from ATIC, which is nationally recognized with defense and intelligence agencies. And then, of course, it's part of your electives here for Wittenberg. And we partner with several universities, including Tiffin and Purdue, Wright State, of course. And so Wittenberg is one of our latest partners, so that's why I'm here to talk about it a little bit.
Do you have any other small college partners yet?
Tiffin is pretty small.
Okay.
I would say Tiffin and Wittenberg are pretty comparable, don't you? Yeah. Yes, sir.
In terms of workforce, you mentioned how you were a workforce development group and how nice it is to have the security clearance. Can you talk a little bit about where graduates go, or what the process is for getting employment after ATIC, or any help that you provide for the graduates to find employment?
Sure. Like I said, we only accept juniors and seniors. You have to have all your language requirements done, whatever projects or program you're in. We do that in order to make sure that you're able to do the reports up to spec, and so all your English has to be done. But other than that, junior or senior is acceptable, and then what we do is hold your security clearance until you graduate from the university. And then we have several people who come to us and say, hey, we need 20 folks to interview for NSA or CIA or NASIC or what have you. And then what we do is we keep all your resumes on file and updated, and then schedule times for people to come in, do job fairs, meet and greets, and things like that. We have about 85% placement rate right now, which is pretty good. There's a little bit of a difference between a college student in our programs and an adult learner. Okay, we have some adult learners that come through our programs as well. They are older, and typically companies, as you might have heard, will put out ads for folks and say recent graduates only, digital natives only. There's a serious problem with a lot of companies that they only want to hire folks fresh out of college because there's a perception that they're the cheapest. Now, with the government, there's a reason why they only want to hire younger folks, and that's because they don't want you to retire when you're 90. So they want you to retire when you're like 60 or 50 or something like that. So they want to charge or make sure that you're down around 20s and 30s before you join FBI or something like that. But yeah, it is more of a problem for older workers to retrain no matter what the environment. And we've seen exactly the same thing. It's much easier to place younger college students than adult relearners. Any other? Yes?
What can you say about Panama?
About what?
Panama. The Panama Papers.
I love it. I think it's very important that people know just how different the rules are for the wealthy than it is for the rest of us. We have rules that are in effect that allow folks to do things with a lot of money that folks with a small amount of money simply don't have access to. And one of the nice things about the Panama Papers, I don't know, anybody not know about them? It's okay if you don't. All it was is a hack where they went and they downloaded almost everything this law firm in Panama, that little country down by the canal, had on very, very wealthy people and how they structured their shell corporations. You've heard of shell corporations. You make all these layers of companies and then you hide behind them so that when something goes wrong or you want to move money or do something that is not exactly legal, the government has a hard time finding you. Shell corporations are great for that. They're completely legal, of course, because, well, to make them illegal would be bad for certain people. So, but this little law firm got hacked, and all that data got released to the internet. So now, the journalists who are releasing the data are concentrating on Europeans right now. Okay, so they're releasing all these wealthy people in all these countries overseas, and including Putin's friends, Vladimir Putin. And so they see how they're hiding their billions and all that kind of stuff. Putin's kind of mad about that, by the way. But what everybody's really waiting on is where's all the American names, okay? I want to know what the American names are. Wouldn't that be fun? But unfortunately, it's not forthcoming. The journalists haven't decided to do that. Nobody knows why. Anyway, this little law firm is like the 4th largest, okay? They're not the big one, they're the 4th largest. And so seeing the huge scope of shell companies and hiding wealth around the world with just the 4th largest means that the 3rd largest and the 2nd largest and the 1st largest companies must be doing things that are orders of magnitude in scope. What they're thinking it's like 32 trillion. Can you get your mind around that? $32 trillion of the wealthy, hidden and untaxed. 32 trillion with a T. That is enough to fund every program you could ever think of. Poverty would be eliminated. Hunger would be non-existent. Everybody would have a house. That kind of money is a game changer, and none of it was taxed. Great question. Anything else going on in the world? Yes, sir.
About eligibility for this program, I think you mentioned that students should have all their language requirements done. By that, did you mean
English?
Okay, right. Natural.
Yeah, if you're like doing Russian, which is very cool, by the way. Russian, very, very popular. Arabic, very popular. For defense and intelligence, good stuff.
We're pushing Chinese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chinese is okay, but really, they're looking for terrorists, not the people that are stealing all of our stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, English, all the English stuff needs to be done so that you can do reports and do research. Yes, sir.
And do candidates for your program have to be U.S. citizens, or could
They do.
international?
They do. Summer semester, okay, we accept non-US citizens because we have more slots available. Typically Saudi Arabians, very, very popular for Saudi Arabians. I don't know why. I'd want to go home and see mom over the summer, right? Well, maybe not. Maybe it's hot over there. I don't know. Yes, sir.
If you were to be hired by, say, a government agency or something after this track, you also go into training specifically through the government agency after that too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, every government agency has its own academy, if you will, you know, like Quantico and all those things you hear about on TV. The cyber program is an aspect for cybersecurity folks. Typically, if you want to go work for defense or intelligence, you would typically also take the ABC class. We have people who take both. Because the cyber aspects help you with any sort of a corporate or government protection. But to actually go out in a career, you need to have probably the analyst boot camp.
So do you see more government placement or private sector type of jobs?
Well, with CADS, it's more private sector. However, those who choose to take the analyst boot camp and CADS, they continue to go to the government and take their cyber skills with them, which is, you know, very popular. As you know, Obama has tried to fund organizations and agencies with cybersecurity initiatives. Yes, sir.
What's your opinion on what's happening with Apple right now and how the FBI hired hackers for the iPhone?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're asking about the FBI hiring hackers to do what now?
For the Apple case.
Oh, the Apple case. Oh, that's different. Okay. The FBI said, hey, Apple, we want to get into this phone, we promise. And Apple said, you're asking for the back door for all iPhones. You're asking for a custom iOS version that you could then download to any phone or all iPhones in the world and give yourself access. And FBI said, we never do that, we promise. And Apple says, well, we don't believe you, and we've tried to be helpful, and you keep pushing and pushing, so we're going to say no. Can we just say no to you? And the FBI says, no, you can't say no to us. We're going to take you to court. So that's what happened. Meanwhile, everybody else who was out there kind of said to themselves, you know, the FBI has access to all kinds of fun stuff, you know, like the NSA, which can get into just about anything. And just to let you know how you could get into an iPhone that the terrorist had. If you open it, okay, there's a bunch of chips that hold the memory, okay? And when you punch in the wrong code, then the whole thing is, okay, go erase the memory, right? Well, if I copy the memory first off to the side, and then try a code, and it goes, bloop, I'm going to delete it all. Then I just copy what was there back in, and try again. Repeat, 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 repeat. You see what I'm saying? See how easy that is? And that's something you and I can do, okay? So when people heard that the FBI was asking for a custom version of Apple's operating system, they were saying, are you nuts? If anybody can open an iPhone and copy off the memory and repeatedly, you know, move it back, granted, it would take some time, right? It would take like a half an hour between tries, right? And that's 10,000 tries times a half an hour, do the math. And the FBI's going, well, we don't want to do that, you know? We want it faster. So this company, we think, not sure, offered to the FBI, says, hey, we know how to do that for you, we'll take care of it. And the FBI says, okay. And of course it worked, and they got in. All right. Now that's because it was an old iPhone. It was subject to that particular flaw in engineering or procedure, or maybe they even did the same thing that I just described to you. I don't know. The FBI is not really talking, and Apple doesn't really know what they did. However, what we do know is that the newer iPhones. How many of you have a new iPhone? 6? Yeah. Okay. That little fingerprint reader on it, you know, underneath there is an enclave chip, okay, which is a hardware thing that holds a key that nobody knows, just the phone knows. And so if you break your phone and you go to the Apple store and one of the geniuses has to replace that button, there's a special procedure that he does in order to marry the new button to your old iPhone. If he doesn't do that procedure, all your stuff on the phone is lost and there's no way to get it back, okay? So the new iPhones are much more secure than the old ones were. So you can feel pretty good about that. How many people have Androids? I do. Okay, yeah, we're pushovers. The reason why Android is a pushover is because Google needs to mine our data as part of our business model to make ads. They want to know what you like. You know, maybe you like croquet. They want to know that. Amazon will then tell you, hey, mallets on sale. Yeah.
So do you think that we have that back door now?
It's only for the old one, and we don't really know what the NSA has done for the new one. But math, how many math majors I got? I know I got at least, oh yes, finally! Math works, believe in the math, okay? There are certain things that we can count on, and math is one of them. All right, so if we do an encryption with math algorithms, it doesn't matter who you are. If the key is long enough, then it won't be decrypted. Unless, of course, it's weak according to some kind of a shortcut or atomic computer. What are those things called? Qubits? Come on, quantum computers. Yeah, but there are lots and lots and lots of mathematical operations which are not subject to quantum computing. Okay, so that's cool too. So we like that. Like integer operations, not quantum computing. Who knows Bitcoin? We all know about Bitcoin, right? All right, Bitcoin's based on blockchain. All right, blockchain is a way where you get a bunch of people that work on your result, and whoever comes up with the winner gets a reward, and they get something like a Bitcoin in cybersecurity, or cyber currency. But with upcoming cybersecurity, blockchain is becoming really popular. What they'll do is they will go ahead and take a hash on the outgoing data from the network every second, okay? And then have all these computers called sentries. They're like guards, you know, from Wizard of Oz or whatever. And they watch and see these blockchains go by. And so it's mathematically impossible for data to move past without it being noticed. So if I break into a company, okay, and I try to steal the data, but I'm stopped, have I won? Nope. I have to break in, I have to steal the stuff, and I have to make away with it to win, don't I? So what blockchain does is it makes it impossible to, for data to pass certain boundaries, mathematically proven. So that's something, there's something called guard time. CIA's using now out of Virginia. It's a very interesting protocol. But that's a game changer in cybersecurity for data protection. Keep it from getting stolen. Not a lot of people want to pay for that stuff, though. That's one of the bad things about security. Remember, usability, security. Guess what? You could also put things on top of that, like dollars, over on the security side, lots of dollars, or on the usability side, not as many. You know, and companies don't want to spend money on security anyway. It takes away from the vacation beach house. Anybody else? Any questions about your stuff at home? Any worries? Your mom have worries, your dad have worries. Did they tell you to get off Facebook because they're afraid somebody's going to break in? Okay. Yes?
I'm kind of in a debate with some of my friends right now. I don't really love social media, like I'm not on any of it because I feel like it's dangerous, like it's not secure. Could you explain some of that, like how secure it actually is?
What's your favorite social media?
I don't know.
Well, Facebook is for old people like me. All right. Facebook is got a lot of interesting tricks because Even though you choose a name and you upload a photo of yourself onto Facebook, there's a number behind that, very long number, which represents you as you, okay, your account. And so what a fun thing that the bad guys on Facebook will do is they will make an account, okay, and steal your friend's photo and use your friend's name. And then they'll friend you, and you'll look at it, and you've got, I guess the biggest danger is having 500 friends. I don't have 500 friends. I don't recommend anybody have 500 friends, because I can't remember who I friended. And so I get this thing in, it's my aunt, and I'm like going, I could have sworn I friended her like 3 years ago, but all right, click friend. And then immediately texts me and says, hey, how's it going? Okay, great, haven't talked to you in years, but yeah, fine, how are you? Hey, have you heard about my grant? What? Yeah, this great new government grant. It's a scam. And so with Facebook, whenever you get a friend request, it's really important to make sure that you haven't already friended that person, because it might be an imposter. That's the biggest problem that I think people have. But with Snapchat, I don't think there's much of a problem with that, because it's more of a person-to-person and groups, and everything's very private, stuff like that. But you're not worried too much anymore, are you? I mean,
I'm kind of freaked out by the whole idea of like putting your picture online, so.
well, let me tell you something, okay? Social media. Social media is somewhere your future employers will always search for you, okay? So don't put pictures of yourself holding beer or doing crazy stuff out there, because when they go to look you up, when you apply for a job, that's the first place they go. If it's out there, start cleaning it up now. Maybe it'll be gone by the time they look. Anybody else? Yeah.
How do you feel about doxing?
About what?
Doxing. You know, like stealing people's information.
Oh.
And like completely releasing.
When you say doxing, my mind immediately goes to that little dog that's like shaped like Lego. I don't do it. But that said, there are all kinds of people all over the world with different laws and different values than we have, and I'm not permitted to address any but the United States government's. So I can't really speak to it. I can say it's not good here. Anything else?
I'll mention one thing. This is an issue which is very dear to my heart, is that we here at Wittenberg hope that if you use computers, you use them ethically. You don't involve hacking. That's not the role here, to be a wolf. That's why I like this program here, because we teach you to be one of the guardians of the system. I think when the internet's one of the greatest things we ever developed, and the fact that we have people out there who are actively trying to destroy it, break in, steal identities, do all sorts of nasty things. It just goes to show you that there's evil out there. So this program is really, really good. So I really hope that we will get a lot of you who will be interested in it, who will do it. You'll go out there and protect the internet. Any other questions for our speaker? Because it's getting kind of late. I'm sure if you have questions for him, he'll be willing to stick around for a few minutes.
I've got my cards here on this table. If you ever need to contact me or anything, feel free to lift one and we'll take it with you. But yeah, I'll be here to answer any questions if you would like. Thank you for coming.